morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline 22nd of February 2025. This week's headlines. The world's first openly gay imam was shot dead in South Africa. Facing Islamist threats, Bangladesh girls were forced to cancel football matches. Ayaan Hirsi Ali has sparked outrage among Muslim migrants in Australia. The Berlin stabbing suspect planned to kill Jewish people, police believe. Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico, and pro-Israel Christian groups hope the West Bank is next. American YouTuber got banned from Great Britain. An Oklahoma lawmaker said, "I don't want pink-haired atheists teaching the Bible in schools." A Church of England bishop calls for disestablishment. And Sir Salman Rushdie's attacker was found guilty of attempted murder and assault. Here is the news in detail. Muhsin Hendricks, a pioneering figure dubbed the world's first openly gay imam, has been shot dead in South Africa. He was shortly due to be our guest on Free Thought Hour. The 57-year-old cleric ran a mosque in Cape Town intended as a safe haven for gay and other marginalised Muslims. He was killed on Saturday morning after the car in which he was travelling near the southern city of Gqeberha was ambushed. Two unknown suspects with covered faces got out of a vehicle and started firing multiple shots at his vehicle, police said in a statement. News of Hendricks' death has sent shockwaves through the LGBTQ+ community and beyond, prompting an outpouring of tributes from across the globe. Julia Eyrt, executive director at the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans and Intersex Association, called on the authorities to thoroughly investigate what we fear may be a hate crime. He supported and mentored so many people in South Africa and around the world in their journey to reconcile with their faith, and his life has been a testament to the healing that solidarity across communities can bring in everyone's lives, she said. Shortly before the women's football game began earlier this month, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh group announced a protest rally against the event in Rangpur region, saying it was un-Islamic. Fearing trouble, local police stepped in, and the women's team members were asked to return to their homes for their own safety. "I was frustrated and frightened," one of the players said. "We had never faced such a situation before. It was disappointing that we came back without playing." Bangladesh is a Muslim-majority nation which is currently undergoing a political transition after widespread protests ousted its authoritarian government last year. An interim administration is currently in charge, but there are concerns that Islamist groups, which have been pushed to the fringes, have become emboldened again. The women's football match was the third to be cancelled in northern Bangladesh in less than 2 weeks due to the objections of religious hardliners. In the Dinajpur area, which is roughly 43 miles west of Rangpur, Islamists protesting against a game clashed with locals who supported it, leaving 4 people injured. While most Bangladeshis practice moderate Islam and secular values dominate society, Islamic extremism is not a new phenomenon in the country. A decade ago, religious zealots targeted secular bloggers, atheists, minorities, foreigners, and others in a spate of attacks, killing dozens and sending others fleeing abroad. In one such incident, a group of Islamist gunmen stormed the Holy Artisan Bakery in Dakar in 2016, killing 20 people. It's not just women's football games that have been targeted recently either. Last week, dozens of Islamist students vandalized a bookstall at Dakar's famous Ikushi book fair. The protesters were angry over the display of a book by the exiled feminist author Taslima Nasrin, who has in the past received death threats from Islamist groups for what they say are her blasphemous writings. Mohammed Yunus condemned the incident, saying the attack shows contempt for both the rights of Bangladeshi citizens and for the laws of our country. The police are investigating. Meanwhile, one of the country's best-known actors, Pori Mooney, said she was stopped from inaugurating a department store in the northern town of Tangail after reported objections from religious groups. Now I'm feeling really helpless as well as insecure. It's part of my job to take part in opening a showroom or a similar event. No one has stopped me in all these years, Ms. Mooney told the BBC Bengali service. Similar events involving two other actors, Apu Biswas and Mehazabian Chowdhury, have also been cancelled following threats by Islamists. One of the world's bravest women's rights activists and a survivor of Sharia oppression, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, has sparked outrage among Muslim migrants in Australia. In this Sky News interview, she warned Australians to learn from Europe's destruction before it's too late. Her message was clear. Deport all Islamists who refuse to adopt Australian laws, values, and culture. See this video.
If you want to invite people in from outside of Australia to settle and live in Australia and to belong, I think it's very important to have the conversation with them that this is the place you're coming. Here's what Australia is all about. And in order to belong, you are going to adhere to our norms, and we'll tell you why. But if you don't want to adhere to our norms, it's fine. We believe in freedom, but you don't get to live here.
What about the term multiculturalism? Because it's almost celebrated, particularly in places like Australia, and it's almost an embarrassment that our own old culture, in our case predominantly an Anglo culture with Indigenous underpinnings, but our own culture isn't good enough on its own, that bringing in all of these people have made us richer and better, but in some instances it's come at a cost.
I think the mistake that was made years ago was to apply that philosophy to immigrants. And immigrants who were settled in Australia and given citizenship were also told that they could assimilate or integrate on their own terms, hold on to their own identity. And unfortunately, the result of that, for some of these immigrants, not all of them, but for some of these immigrants, was to form their own ghettos. Enter radical Islam, which is an international ideology that seeks to transform everywhere it goes and tries to take over control and power. And the philosophy of multiculturalism empowered the Islamists into isolating Muslim individuals, convincing them that the Islamist worldview is their worldview and that is what it is to be a Muslim, and turning them against the local populations. The problem you're seeing in Australia is exactly the same problem they have in the United Kingdom, in Germany, in other parts of Europe, but we also have it in the United States. And so now I think is the time to say multiculturalism as a philosophy has failed. If you want to bring about social cohesion in a nation state, you emphasize what unites us. You don't emphasize what divides us. And multiculturalism is about emphasizing what divides us. And the way multiculturalism works is some of these communities, minorities, as they say, are to be afforded exemptions from the laws that majorities have to uphold.
Yes, and we see that in the United Kingdom too, don't we, with the debate about Sharia law, the debate about marriage to first cousins. That's been a feature of quite a lot of contention in the British Parliament recently. You mentioned the move by radical Islam across the West. What's their end game?
Of radical Islam. The radical Islamists, they want to bring about Sharia. Their end game is they've got this thing called the Caliphate, the Islamic State. That's their utopian dream. That's what they want to achieve. And they don't just want to achieve it for themselves in their own societies. They want to impose it on the whole world. In fact, after the Arab Spring, one of the new developments is the original countries of Islam, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Egypt, have banned, for instance, the Muslim Brotherhood, and have banned other Islamists from preaching or having to do anything with politics. And so you see in the source countries, in the original countries of Islam, Islamism is out. They've then migrated and they've come to Western societies that pride themselves on freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and so on. And so they've set up shop here, and they've decided they're going to start the Islamization process, or they're going to headquarter the Islamist project from the UK and from France and from Germany, and in this case from Australia, which is strange.
Are you surprised at how quickly some of our societies have become radicalized and Islamified?
I'm not surprised, because for the last 25 years I've been banging on about exactly what you're talking about. So I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed that people like me were ignored, not listened to. So I think what we have to do is go back to emphasizing the nation state and what unites us, to identify the problem with the Islamists. It is this infrastructure that they have established that they use to Islamize the mosques, the schools, the Islamic centers. Break those up, and I think it is time to deport the radical imams, and it's time to give the citizens who are Muslim, who live in Australia, the options. Do you want to be Australian? Then you're welcome and you stay, and this is who we are. And if you don't want to be an Australian citizen, as in an allegiance to the Australian Constitution and flag and norms and customs, then we are happy to let you go back to where you want to go back, the country of origin.
President Donald Trump began his second term in the White House with a bit of political map-making, changing the official US name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Now, Christian broadcasters and members of Congress hope Trump will do something similar for Israel by renaming the West Bank as Judea and Samaria, a name for the region found in the Bible. That name is mentioned in a bill now before Congress and in a resolution from the National Religious Broadcasters Association, the NRB. The NRB opposes the use of the erroneous term West Bank to describe the biblical heartland of Israel and calls on its members to refer to the region by its historic name of Judea and Samaria, the NRB said. They are a group of mostly evangelical broadcasters and ministries, and they announced what is called a Biblical Heartland Resolution. In the West Bank, a region encompassing about 2,185 square miles, was part of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan back in 1967, before being captured by Israel during the Six-Day War. This region is home to 4 million people, of whom close to 3 million are Palestinians without legal rights. In early February, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas and Representative Claudia Tenney of New York, both Republicans, reintroduced legislation to change how the US government refers to the region. They first introduced this bill in December 2024. If enacted as a law, the legislation would require US documents to refer to the area as Judea and Samaria, biblical names for the ancient Israelite kingdoms of Judah, also known as the Southern Kingdom, and Samaria, a part of the Kingdom of Israel, also known as the Northern Kingdom. A 19-year-old Syrian man suspected of stabbing a Spanish tourist at Berlin's Holocaust Memorial had planned for several weeks to kill Jewish people, Berlin police believe. The attack took place on Friday evening, with the assailant approaching the 30-year-old victim from behind before stabbing him and fleeing the scene. A man was arrested nearby after police noticed bloodstains on his hands and clothing. The suspect was carrying a prayer rug, a copy of the Quran, and the suspected weapon in his backpack, suggesting a religious motivation, police said. After being taken to hospital, the victim was put into an induced coma, but his life is no longer in danger. See this video. Apologetics Roadshow host David Wood has been banned from entering the UK. See this video.
What has two thumbs and just got banned from Great Britain? This guy. John McCrae, aka What Do You Meme, and I had a perfect plan. We were going to head to Newark for DebateCon on Saturday, where I would debate Robert Spencer on the existence of Muhammad. After the debate, we were going to take an overnight flight to London. We would arrive in London Sunday morning, drop our bags at the hotel, and head straight to Speaker's Corner, where our Muslim friends would have an opportunity to thank me in person for defending their prophet from the Islamophobic attacks of Robert Spencer. We were going to spend the day at Speaker's Corner recording the Dawah guys as they run from us. Then we were going to take the Christians who go to Speaker's Corner to dinner. After that, we had a 3-day conference, the ARC conference. ARC stands for Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. Jordan Peterson, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, Douglas Murray, Oz Guinness, Konstantin Kisin, Dave Rubin, and many, many others were speaking. We had a number of interviews and collaborations lined up. Wednesday evening, after the conference concluded, we were going to board the Eurostar train from London to Paris because we had a video to record in the Louvre Thursday morning. As soon as we were done recording, we were heading back to the US from Paris. So, it was supposed to be one of the most epic weeks in apologetics history. What could go wrong? Great Britain could go wrong, as it's been doing a lot lately. The organizers of the ARC conference sent us an email saying that as of January 8th, can't believe they did this on Elvis's birthday, as of January 8th, people traveling to Great Britain from the US had to apply for an electronic travel authorization, an ETA. I've been to Great Britain probably about a dozen times for conferences and debates, so I didn't think there would be a problem. Prior to January 8th, if you wanted to travel from the US to the UK, you bought a plane ticket and brought your passport. But now they require an ETA so they can weed out any undesirables. I applied for the ETA and they sent me a rejection message the day before we were leaving for DebateCon. The rejection email said that the rejection cannot be appealed and that if I want to travel to the UK, I have to apply for a visa. So I filed an expedited application for a visa and they instantly rejected it.
Oklahoma State Senator David Bullard filed a bill to resurrect 10 Commandments monuments inside and outside the state capital. His previous attempts were shot down or declared illegal, but this time he's trying to base it on history. On Wednesday, Bullard appeared on the Wallbinders show to talk about how he was promoting the Bible in the legislature. Bullard praised Ryan Williams, the controversial superintendent of public instruction, before saying that Walters was limited in what he could do. After all, superintendents can create rules, but they are well aware they can just be ignored. Therefore, Bullard said it was up to the legislature to codify laws that would be harder to undo. He brought up how Walters has been trying to get the Trump Bibles in the classroom, which he supports, but he quickly added that even that action could be a problem if the wrong sort of person was at the front of the classroom. Hear this audio.
Since I have been in, I have fought to force our teachers to actually use primary sources to teach our Christian heritage and its impact on our founding documents. And he's been fighting that fight through his implementation of the Bible in schools. And I think that there's a lot of benefit to looking at that. We need to be specific there. I don't want some pink-haired person who doesn't believe in God to start trying to teach the Bible. So I want to make sure we're teaching it specifically. You know, I've run that bill this year. That's Senate Bill 850. And that one actually gives them, I think it's 20 different quotes from the founding fathers on our Christian and constitutional heritage, and it would require that to be taught in every history class.
The Anglican Bishop of Birkenhead, Julie Conalty, has called for the Church of England to be disestablished. I personally would favour the Church of England being disestablished, said Conalty, who is also the Church's deputy lead bishop for safeguarding. The National Secular Society has long campaigned for disestablishment and recently supported a bill to separate church and state. Conalty's comments came as the General Synod voted last week against making safeguarding fully independent from the church, in the wake of a series of abuse scandals which led to the resignation of Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby. That vote dismayed victims and survivors of abuse and went against the recommendations of a report by Professor Alexis Jay, the former chair of the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse. Professor Jay said, "Child safeguarding as it stands falls below the standards of secular organisations, and I do not think that can continue when it has also led to such serious weaknesses." Remarking on the vote, Conalty said, "As a church, we still weren't able to listen to criticism from experts, from survivors. The debate and voting exemplified the arrogance of the institution. Part of our inherent arrogance comes with our status as the established church," she said. A New Jersey man who stabbed renowned British Indian author Sir Salman Rushdie multiple times on a New York lecture stage has been convicted of attempted murder and assault. Hadi Matar, 27, now faces a sentence of more than 30 years in prison. The attack in August 2022 left Sir Salman with severe injuries, including damage to his liver, vision loss in one eye, and a paralysed hand caused by nerve damage to his arm. The jury's guilty verdict on Friday came after a 2-week trial in Chautauqua County Court in the western New York state near the site of the attack. The jury also found Matar guilty of assault for wounding the interviewer, Henry Rees, who was also on stage with the author. Mr. Rees suffered a minor head injury during the attack. Matar's sentencing date has been scheduled for the 23rd of April. Following this news, Tercy and I will be interviewing sensory integration occupational therapist Jessie Kaplan. You can join us by texting in the sidebar. This has been Global Atheist News. Please like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.